Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Self Love Circle. I'm your host, Scylla Kavanaugh, and today we're diving into something I think we all need to talk about more: detoxifying your lives. Life is messy, right? We're surrounded by noise, whether it's people, habits, or even our own repetitive thoughts. And sometimes we don't even realize how much of that noise is actually toxic. In today's episode, this is all about learning to recognize and part ways with harmful connections, disconnecting from those toxic influences, and how that process can lead us to a deeper, truer sense of self love. Now, this isn't just about cutting people out of your life, though that's part of it. It's about creating space for yourself to thrive. I'll be sharing some practical steps, personal reflections, and maybe even a few hard truths I've learned along the way. So, grab your coffee or tea or whatever you floats your boat and get cozy. And let's get into it. Now, let's start with the why. Why does detoxifying your life even matter? Think about it this way. Our energy is finite, which means it's limited. Every day, we wake up with a certain amount of mental, emotional, and physical bandwidth. Your battery. Your social battery may be high, or it may be like me that's low. And you can only handle so much before you start to shut down. The people we surround ourselves with, the conversations we have, the environments we put ourselves in, they all take up a piece of that energy pie. When those connections are healthy, they fill us up. They inspire us. They make us feel seen. They give us that energy. But when they're toxic, they drain us. They leave us feeling depleted or anxious or even questioning our own worth. Toxic connections aren't always obvious either. We often picture some cartoonish villain twirling his little mustache, but in reality, it could be a friend who constantly criticizes you under the guise of, I'm just being honest. Or maybe it's a family member who guilt trips you into doing things that just doesn't align with who you are. Maybe it's a coworker who thrives on drama and gossip and pulls you into it. These relationships chip away at your peace. And over time, that erosion can disconnect you from yourself. The truth is, you can't pour from an empty cup. If your energy is being siphoned off by harmful influences, there's less left for you, for your dreams, your growth, your joy. Detoxifying your life is not selfish. It's necessary. Trust me, my whole life, I've spent thinking that if I don't put everyone else first, then I'm being selfish. But detoxifying your life is necessary. It's about reclaiming that energy so that you can show up as your best self, not just for others, but for you. Okay, so how do we spot these harmful connections? That's the tricky part, because toxicity doesn't always come with a bright, shiny, flashing neon sign saying, I'm toxic. Let's break it down. First, pay attention how you feel after interacting with someone. Do you feel uplifted or do you feel heavy? I used to have a friend, and I keep keeping this vague because, well, we've all got these stories like this, where every conversation left me second guessing myself. She'd make these little digs like, oh, you're still working on that project? Haven't you finished that by now, or no one wants to hear you talk about that anyway. At first, I just brushed it off, but over time, and it took me years, I realized that I'd leave our hangouts feeling smaller. I'd sit and I'd listen to any of her troubles and never criticize or judge. But when it came to me, either she was distracted and really not even listening, and maybe not even responding to what I was talking about, or she would immediately jump on me and criticize or judge the things I was talking about, throwing out her own projections on my issues. And it always turned into me leaving feeling like I was just not sure about where I fit into that friendship. That's a red flag. Your gut knows before your brain catches up. Listen to it. I don't always, but I'm learning. Second, look for patterns. Does this person respect your boundaries, or do they bulldoze right over them? Maybe you've said no to something, a favor, a late night venting session, and they just keep pushing. Or worse, they make you feel guilty for even having boundaries. Healthy relationships honor your no. No is a full sentence, by the way. Toxic ones, they punish you for it. Now, this one I could go on and on about. Throughout my previous marriage, my boundaries were crossed to the point that I honestly felt like I had none. I did not know how to say no. I went along with everything to avoid confrontation at any cost. But slowly over time, all that did was build resentment. It even became that pushing my boundaries was a good thing because I was holding myself back, when in reality, I just disappeared and given up on having a voice. I'd given my own sovereignty to the person I trusted, expecting them to protect me. But they did just the opposite. It led to me pushing myself deeper into a level of toxicity and led me to being humiliated, used, devalued, and pushed deeper into darkness. Of course, red flag, right? Third, ask yourself this: is there reciprocity? Is it a reciprocal relationship? Relationships are a two-way street. If you're always the one that's giving, listening, supporting, showing up, and they're always taking, that's not balance. That's a leech. I had to learn this the hard way. With someone I cared about deeply, I dropped everything for them. But when I needed support, crickets, none. They were never willing to truly value my opinions and listen to my choices. I stopped needing anything and became very independent because the trust and the safety disappeared from our connection that brought the security. I was the one always giving everything and never getting anything back when I did. It was the bare minimum. It hurt, but recognizing that imbalance was the first step in me letting go. So now, I want you to take a minute right now, pause this if you need to, and think about the people in your life. Answer these questions. Who lifts you up? Who makes you feel seen? Who makes you feel valued? Who makes you feel like there is a different vision for your future and they're willing to be there for it? Who drags you down? Who makes you feel like you're not being heard, not being seen, not being valued? Recognizing the difference is the foundation of detoxifying your life. And finally, watch for manipulation. Toxic people often use guilt, shame, and even flattery, that whole love bombing thing, to keep you hooked. So if you hear phrases like, "You're the only one who gets me," and "After all I've done for you," or "I'm obsessed with you," or "You're my goddess and we are one," those are hooks. They're designed to make you feel obligated to stay, even when it's hurting you. They make you feel like it is love when it's really love bombing. And soon the devaluation follows, using you to get exactly what they want by creating an abusive cycle of narcissistic abuse. This leaves you in a confusing cycle of toxic manipulation, which looks like love, but it's really just abuse. Okay, so now that we know how to identify these harmful connections, now what do you do? Parting ways is where it gets real. And yeah, it's hard. One of the hardest things that you may have to go through. But it's also very liberating, very freeing. And here's how to do it. First step, you've got to get honest with yourself. You've got to acknowledge your own feelings. You've got to acknowledge the reality of what the relationship is around you. You have to take responsibility for your part in it, and you have to accept the truth. You don't owe anyone your energy just because they've been in your life for a long time. I used to cling to relationships out of loyalty. Like, we've been together since we were kids. I just can't walk away. Or we're married and I'm loyal and I believe in a forever connection. Or you help me sometimes, so I guess I owe you everything. Or I'm staying for the kids. I stayed in relationships from marriage to friends way too long because of my loyalty. But time isn't a contract. If someone's hurting you now, the past doesn't get a vote. You can choose to make a change. Give yourself permission to prioritize your peace. Second part, set boundaries. You don't always have to cut someone off completely. Sometimes it's about distance. Maybe you stop answering every call, or you limit how much you share with them. I had a friend who loved to gossip, and it always left me super stressed out. So I started redirecting those conversations, or just saying, "Hey, I'm not up for this today." It wasn't easy, and they didn't love it, of course, but it does work. Unfortunately, sometimes that may not work. And to protect your peace, you must take a hard look at your circle and make the choice to walk away from the negativity. The more you heal, the higher your frequency will be. And unfortunately, you cannot take everyone with you. Once you're at a higher frequency, you'll no longer vibrate at the same level as others that are at a lower vibration. Maybe the vibration of shame or judgment or fear or gossip or jealousy or pain or anger. You don't have to lower your vibration to walk away. You can just make the choice to break these toxic ties and wish them well. If it's time to let go, make sure you do it with clarity. You don't need a big confrontation. Sometimes that just feeds into the drama. A simple, "I need space for myself right now," can just be enough. Or I'm over it. Or if it's someone you can't fully avoid, like a coworker or maybe you co-parent, shift your focus. Keep it professional, keep it surface level, and do not let them get into your inner world or mind.
And with any form of narcissistic abuse, gray rock them. What does that mean? Gray rocking means you keep everything at an unemotional level. Whatever you need to be having a conversation with them about, keep it at that level. Always stay unemotional. That way, they cannot use your emotions to feed whatever negativity they're at. Now, here's the tough pill. Some people won't let go quietly. They might lash out, guilt trip you, or they're going to play the victim. But that's not your burden to carry. I do remember ending a friendship once, and she texted me a novel about how I was abandoning her and listed all the things that I had done wrong over a whole 3-year period, rather than taking any responsibility or looking inside of herself for her own actions. That stung. I was upset, but I had to remind myself, I am not responsible for her happiness. And you're not responsible for anyone else's either. The goal here isn't to be cold or cruel. It's to protect your energy, to protect your peace. Disconnecting from toxic influences isn't about hate. It's honestly about love. Love for yourself, love for life, and love for the future that you're building. So now let's talk about what happens when you clear that space. You've done the hard part. You've made the decision to put yourself first, protect your peace, identify that you're surrounded by this negative energy. You've either cut the people off or you've backed away and you've given yourself this open space. Now is the time that you get to rediscover yourself. And wow, all I can say is it's going to be such a beautiful journey. Detoxifying your life isn't just about subtraction. It's actually about addition. Adding peace, adding joy, and adding you back into yourself. True self-love starts when you stop letting other people define your worth. When you're tangled up in toxic connections, it's super easy to internalize their criticism or their chaos. You start thinking, maybe I'm not enough. But when you let go, you recreate the room to ask, who am I without all this noise? What emotions are actually mine and not their projections? What do I need to do to protect my peace and heal from the constant negative energy? And that's very powerful. Don't go crazy. You've already made a big change in your life. So start small. But the key is here, don't go replace them with someone else and their energy. You're clearing your own energy. You're healing your own energy. And the only way to do that is to reconnect with yourself, to get these people out of your mind so that your thoughts, your energy is all about you. So spend that time alone, real time, not just scrolling on your phone. Journal about what makes you happy. Set time in the mornings and the evenings, whenever it is during your day, with no distractions, no television, no music, nothing. Maybe if you have music, it is literally instrumental. Maybe it's some type of healing, yoga type of music, or even just a frequency. But nothing that's going to interrupt the time for you to connect with your own energy. Try things that you've always wanted to do, but didn't because maybe someone else made you feel silly for it. You know, for me, it was painting. My mother's an artist. My daughter's so talented. I put this block in me thinking that I'm not able to do it, but I have just as much talent. But somewhere along the way, for so much of my life, I stopped creating the art. And that block needed to be broken. Someone I had connected with would tease me about my weird hobbies. So I just stopped doing them. Once they were out of my life, I picked up a brush again and it felt like coming home. Surround yourself with people who reflect the best in you. Once you're through the piece and you want to surround yourself with others again, make sure they're people who reflect back to you your highest self. Not perfect people, because none of us are perfect, but people who cheer you on, who see your light, who see the good in you, who see the future in you, who can really see your highest self. People who can be that beacon of light in your life that allows you to see your way forward. And most importantly, be that person for yourself. Talk to yourself the way you'd talk to someone that you actually love. Mirror work's a great way to do that, to start cheering yourself on by changing the self-talk and the accepting yourself fully. Start falling deeply in love with your whole self, body, mind, and spirit, because you deserve it. We all do. Self-love isn't a destination. It's a practice, and it's a daily practice. And detoxifying your life is the first step to making it real. You've got to change the energy so that your energy can vibrate higher. The higher you go, the better you get. So there you have it, my loves. Detoxifying your life is about recognizing the harmful connections and parting ways with them, and using that newfound space to foster true self-love. It's not always easy. Trust me, I've been there, but it's worth it. You're worth it. I'd love to hear from you. What's one toxic influence you've let go of, or one you're working on? Drop me a message, leave it here in the comments, whatever feels good to you. Next week, we'll be talking about how to build a life after a big life change. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening. And until then, take a deep breath. Give yourself some grace. And remember, your energy is precious. So protect it. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you next time on my Self-Love Circle. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.